Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
7.20, right?
7.20, yes.
Sorry.
Yes, 20. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
कामैस्तैस्तैष तज्ज्ञानाः प्रपद्यन्ते न देवताः तं तं नियममास्ताय प्रकृत्या नियताः स्वया. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own nature. Purpose. Those who are freed from all material contamination surrender unto the Supreme Lord and engage in his devotional service. As long as the material contamination is not completely washed off, they are by nature non-devotees. But even those who have material desires and who resort to the Supreme Lord are not so much attracted by eternal nature. Because of approaching the right goal, they soon become free from all material lust. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, but it is recommended that whether one is a pure devotee and is free from all material desires, or is full of material desires, or desires liberation from material contamination, he should in all cases surrender to Vasudeva and worship him. As stated in the Bhagavatam 2.3.1, Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udara di tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Less intelligent people who have lost their spiritual sense that take shelter of demigods for immediate fulfillment of material desires. Generally, such people do not go to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they are in the lower modes of nature, ignorance and passion, and therefore worship various demigods following the various demigods. Following the rules and regulations of worship, they are satisfied. The worshippers of demigods are motivated by small desires and do not know how to reach the supreme goal. But a devotee of the Supreme Lord is not misguided because in Vedic literature there are recommendations for worshipping different gods for different purposes. Example, a deceased man is recommended to worship the sun. Those who are not devotees of the Supreme of the Lord think that for certain purposes demigods are better than the Supreme Lord. But the pure devotees know that Supreme Lord Krishna is the master of all. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi 5.142, it is said, Ekale Ishvara Krishna Arya Sabha Bhritya. Only the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is master and all others are servants. Therefore, a pure devotee never goes to demigod for satisfaction of his material needs. He depends on the Supreme Lord, and the pure devotee is satisfied with whatever he gives.
Yeah, Manoj.
Hare Krishna. ये यो याम तनुम भक्तः श्रद्धाया चितुर्विच्छति तस्य तस्याचलां श्रद्धां तामेव विद्यामयम्. I am in everyone's heart as the super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. God has given independence to everyone. Therefore, if a person desires to have a material enjoyment and wants very sincerely to have such facilities from the material demigods, the Supreme Lord, as super souls in everyone's heart, understands and gives facilities for such persons. As the Supreme Father of all living entities, he does not interfere with their independence, but gives all facilities so that they can fulfill their material desires. Some may ask why the allow powerful God gives facilities to the living entities for enjoying his material world, and so lets them fall into the trap of the illusory energy? The answer is that if the Supreme Lord is, as Super Soul does not give such facilities, then there is no meaning to independence. Therefore, he gives everyone full independence, whatever one likes. But his ultimate instruction we find in the Bhagavad Gita: one should give up all other engagements and fully surrender unto him. That will make man happy. Both the living entity and the demigods are subordinate to the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the living entity cannot worship the demigod by his own desire, nor can the demigod bestow any benediction without the supreme will. As it is said, not a blade of glass moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Generally, persons who are distressed in the material world go to the demigods as they are advised in the Vedic literature. A person wanting some particular thing may worship such a demigod. For example, a distressed person is recommended to worship the sun god. A person wanting education may worship the goddess of learning, Saraswati. And a person wanting a beautiful wife may worship the goddess of Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. In this way, there are recommendations in the Shastras, Vedic scriptures, for different modes of worship of different demigods. And because a particular living entity wants to enjoy a particular material facility, the Lord inspires him with a strong desire to achieve that benediction from that particular demigod. And so he successfully receives the benedictions. The particular mode of the devotional attitude of the living entity toward a particular type of demigod is also arranged by the Supreme Lord. The demigods cannot infuse the living entities with such an affinity, but because he is the Supreme Lord or the Super Soul, he is who is present in the hearts of all living entity, Krishna gives impetus to man to worship certain demigods. The demigods are actually different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they have no independence. In the Vedic literature, it is stated the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Super Soul is also present within the heart of the demigod. Therefore, he arranges through the demigod to fulfill the desire of the living entity. But both the demigod and the living entity are dependent of the supreme will. They are not independent. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, read one more. 22.
Nikhilji?
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
So तया श्रद्धया युक्तस्य आराधनम मीहते लभते च ततः कामान मय एव भीतान ही तान. ऐसी श्रद्धा से समन्वित वह देवता विशेष की पूजा करने का यत्न करता है और अपनी इच्छा की पूर्ति करता है, किंतु वास्तविकता तो यह है कि ये सारे लाभ केवल मेरे द्वारा प्रदत्त हैं. देवतागण परमेश्वर की अनुमति के बिना अपने भक्तों को वर नहीं दे सकते. जीव भले ही यह भूल जाए कि प्रत्येक वस्तु परमेश्वर की संपत्ति है, किंतु देवता इसे नहीं भूलते. अतः देवताओं की पूजा तथा वांछित फल की प्राप्ति देवताओं के कारण नहीं, अपितु उनके माध्यम से भगवान के कारण होती है. अल्प ज्ञानी जीव इसे नहीं जानते, अतः वे मूर्खतावश देवताओं के पास जाते हैं, किंतु शुद्ध भक्त आवश्यकता पड़ने पर परमेश्वर से ही याचना करता है, परंतु वह वर मांगना शुद्ध भक्त का लक्षण नहीं है. जीव सामान्यतः देवताओं के पास इसलिए जाता है क्योंकि वह अपनी इच्छाओं की पूर्ति के लिए पगलाया रहता है. ऐसा तब होता है जब जीव अनुचित कामना करता है जिसे स्वयं भगवान पूरा नहीं करते. चैतन्य चरितामृत में कहा गया है कि जो व्यक्ति परमेश्वर की पूजा के साथ साथ भौतिक भोग की कामना करता है वह परस्पर विरोधी इच्छाओं वाला होता है. परमेश्वर की भक्ति तथा देवताओं की पूजा समान स्तर पर नहीं हो सकती, क्योंकि देवताओं की पूजा भौतिक है और परमेश्वर की भक्ति नितांत आध्यात्मिक है. जो जीव भगवत धाम जाने का इच्छुक है, उसके मार्ग में भौतिक इच्छाएं बाधक हैं। अतः भगवान के शुद्ध भक्त को वे भौतिक लाभ नहीं प्रदान किए जाते, जिनकी कामना अल्पज्ञ जीव करते रहते हैं, जिसके कारण वे परमेश्वर की भक्ति न करके देवताओं की पूजा में लगे रहते हैं। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So we'll stop now.